How's it going, everybody? And in today's Photoshop Elements tutorial, we're doing a bit of a companion to our Project 4 video on shooting double exposures in camera, because you can achieve that same double exposure effect in Elements quite quickly and easily. And just to illustrate quickly how comparable the two results are, we're going to use the assets from our Project 4 video just to show you quickly how it works here. So go to the guided menu here, and in Fun Edits you'll find double exposure, and as always drag the cursor back and forth across the image to give you a preview of what the effect will look like. And here we are. This image is straight out of the camera as it was from Project 4. This is the unmerged, one of the unmerged double exposure images from Project 4. So this process will work exactly the same with the actual image we'll be using in a moment. So the first thing we need to do is just use one of the tools here, and I'm using Auto, just to select our subject. And Elements is going to use the clever bit of software just to give us an automatic mask of that outline. So then by importing a photo, what we're going to do here is bring in, again, this is the second frame from the double exposure we shot in camera in Project 4. So as you can see here, just very, very quickly, this has given us almost an identical effect to shooting those two images together in camera, as we did in Project 4, which you can see elsewhere on this disk or in this issue. So if we start again, because you don't always have the opportunity to shoot your two images in camera on the same day or at the same time. Sometimes you want to use an image you've shot maybe a couple of weeks ago, or you shot one that morning, but you don't have one that fits it in the afternoon, or while you're shooting in the same session. So using this method, we're going to open our starter image, which is just an old image I shot of a bird a while back, and it actually needs a little bit of touching up. So the first thing we'll do, let's go to the quick mode here and just do a couple of minor exposure tweaks, because it's a bit gloomy and murky. So I'm just going to bump the exposure slightly, and let's kick up the shadows a little bit as well, gives a bit more detail to play with. So a couple of quick edits there, and then we're going to go back into the guided and Fun Edits, double exposure. So there we go. This is the image we're going to be playing with now to show you how to do double exposures with a little bit of a twist and a bit more impact here in Photoshop Elements. So again, you've got the choice of Auto or Quick. In this case, I'm going to use the Quick tool. I'm just going to zoom out slightly. And if you sort of hold the mouse button down and just keep dragging, as you can see, it's going to automatically select the relevant parts of the image. So that's a nice, quick and easy way to select a mask for that part of the image. That's what we want to isolate. And then we can import a photo at this stage, and we've got another image here, which again is just some leaves that I shot just on that day. Just again, this illustrates the point that sometimes the stuff you shoot at the time isn't always great and doesn't always work with what you're doing. But you can see here, let's use the Move tool to just drag around that second layer element, and you can see this is actually quite a nice effect, because it chips away the detail of some of the wings and degrades some of the shot. It's quite an interesting effect, but it's not the most interesting second image in the world, because on that day I couldn't shoot something that worked particularly well with the image. So we're just going to undo that, and instead of importing a photo, we're going to use one of Elements' inbuilt, ready-made backgrounds. And in this case, something like Forest might work quite well. If we just click on Forest, as you can see, it's going to drop that in for us. And if we use the Move tool here, we can sort of drag that around and find the perfect place for it. We can change the size and the scale of that background if we like. I've got a feeling, actually, that Cloud, because it's a bird, Cloud might work a little bit better. So let's just use the Move tool again, just to sort of move this ever so slightly. And there's no exact science to this. With a lot of our tutorials, that you'll hear me say there's no exact science, because all of this stuff is down to personal preference, personal taste, what you like the look of, better or worse. But as you can see, the cloud works a little bit better. It's a bit more in keeping with the spirit of the bird than perhaps the fallen leaves were. So once you've found either one of the inbuilt images to use with your shot, or you want to import a completely different picture, and that can be something you've taken in the past, or an image you've downloaded, or a texture you've acquired from somewhere, so you can blend all sorts of images together. And once you found the perfect combination, go down to Effects here, and this enables you to put on a little bit of an overlay. These work a little bit like Instagram filters, so sometimes they can be a bit too strong. You might want to use them sensitively, but as you can see, that some are quite reserved or more tasteful, less tasteful than others. There's a nice monochrome treatment here that you can tinker with. This one gives a bit of a an inverse color tweak. And if you use any of these sort of settings, you can change the intensity, and indeed you can change the intensity of the texture or the background you've used in the first instance as well. So it gives you a bit more flexibility than shooting it in camera. And once you've found something that sort of works for you, you can choose next. And at this stage, you can sort of save it and output it, in whatever format you choose. But given the amount of negative space around here, we might want to make a couple of quick tweaks. So let's just pop back into Expert here. And as you can see, that's the process there. If you want to sort of reverse engineer the magic underneath the hood, if you like, you can look at some of these steps in the process here and work out what's going on. I think this image just needs a little bit of cropping. That's probably a bit too much. So let's sort of keep it roughly. In fact, you know what? Let's just put it back as it was. And then we're going to hold down Shift while we drag the bottom arrow, and that drags it in the same ratio that it was shot with. So just to take that there, that's a bit of a nicer crop. And I think, you know what, if we actually, let's flatten this image, and then I'm going to use Control or Command A for select all, and then Control or Command X to copy it, and then Control or Command V to paste it back as a new layer. And then that enables me to just drag it, make it a little bit more central. It's not quite rule of thirds-ish, but I think that's a little bit of a better composition than it was before. And now we can just flatten the image again. And there you have it. So that shows you the other way of achieving a double exposure that gives you some advantages over doing it in camera. Obviously, the process is automated when you do it in camera, so this takes all the legwork out of it for you. But this way, you've got a bit more control, a bit more fine-tuning. You've got more options to use different images that you didn't necessarily shoot at the same time, and you've got the added bonus of being able to put a few effects on there and change the intensity. So that's how to achieve double exposures quickly and easily in Photoshop Elements. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next issue.